Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. Last time we were on the Always On Availability videos, and we went over the demonstration of how to set up and configure and actually migrate data from the primary server to the secondary replica. And I gave you a demonstration of that. And then when ending with that course, I mentioned that we're going to talk about clustering. In retrospect and looking back, I think clustering may be a little more of an advanced feature than I thought anticipated for the beginner classes, if you will. So I'm going to leave that actually to an advanced class once we've completed all the replication and once we've completed the availability groups that we're going to be talking about. So lastly, I'm going to talk about here, a couple of more videos, is how to back up the database on the secondary replicas. And remember, this is the whole notion that allows us to use always on, that we can utilize the secondary databases and servers and not have them just idly sitting there. So in this particular case, what I'm going to demonstrate to you is I'm going to create a database on the primary database. We're going to set up a availability group for that, and then we're going to back up on the secondary replicas. A couple of things to note: if you do a secondary on the secondary replicas, if you schedule a backup job, just a regular backup job, you will get an error saying that it is not supported. And that's because this is an important thing here. Backup type supported on secondary replicas. It's important to note that when you do a backup database on the secondary, only copy only full backups are supported. So make sure you note that. I'm going to actually put that in bold here. So we have to select this option from the database wizard or in the T-SQL, and we have to activate this. So this is an important thing. Again, if you do a regular backup, it will not support it. So again, differential backups are not supported in the replicas either. So basically, you can only do a full database backup and transactional log backups. And again, this is not mandatory for transactional log. So this is an article that I got, and obviously it must be in a synchronizing mode. It cannot be asynchronous. So these are the three things that I would take note. Let me just highlight these. Oops. These are the three things I would note that you need to pay attention to when you're doing a backup on the secondary replicas. So now I'm going to demonstrate that to you. Now, obviously, if you click on this link, it'll take you to the actual page, and you can read a little more about it. But you get the crux of what I'm saying. So I'll let you do that on your own. So now let's go to our demonstration, and let's open that and demonstrate how to do this. The first thing I wanted you to do, obviously, is just, if you notice here, I don't have a rep 7. So I'm going to create a database called rep 7. And let's just see if it's on, and then we can continue. And I'm doing this obviously on, server 1, the primary server. So I've been fiddling around this, so I may have deactivated and activated it. But give it a second. There we go. Now, obviously, we're going to use rep 7. So here it is. Let's refresh it. And there it is. And obviously, if I right-click properties, by default, as you know, the options is full recovery mode. So I don't need to worry about that. And that's one of the requisites of Always On. So what I'm going to do in this, I'm going to quickly create a table called numbers. And in that insert, in that numbers table, I'm going to just insert 1,000 quick records of the words values 1,000. And that'll just take a few seconds, and there it is. And if I look at that select statement against it, you'll see I've got 1,000 rows. So that's wonderful. Now, the whole idea is that as data is increasing on your production environment, your primary server, what we need to do is have an always-on availability group for that particular single database in this case. And then on the secondary database, have a backup job running. So we offload all the workload on this particular server and take the resource stress off the server 1 and have it done on our replicas. And that's the whole notion of what I'm going to describe now. So right now it has 1,000 records. So what I want to do is create an availability group. So right click, new availability group. And we've gone through this before, so let's do this relatively quickly. I'll just call it 777, as I've called this before, 7, and go next. Then obviously we're going to select, and a full backup is required, so I didn't do that. So let's do that first. Let me right-click, tasks, backup, And I'm just going to go OK. I've already had it there. So there we go. So now if we go back to that, we should be good if we refresh it or rerun it. And let's refresh this. And there we go. It meets the requirement. So select the 7 and go. Oops, why isn't it? There we go. Go next. Let's add the replicas. Replica 2, or server 2 in this case. And again, make sure we select the appropriate fail. Since we're going to be doing backups, we must be setting this option. You cannot do it asynchronously. I can't say the word today. It must be synchronous. So make sure you do that also. Let's look at the listener. We have to create a listener for that. So we'll just call it 777 1433 port. Give it a static IP address. And I think the next static IP address is 57.192.168.0.57. And obviously you should be a little more careful than I am in having everything documented. But when we do the advanced clustering, I'll be going through this step by step and we'll be documenting it before. So go next. Go next. And it's just validating it. And there we go. It's created here. And that's wonderful. And now we're going to actually create it. Let's look at the more details. So now we're getting, as you can see, we've got the HA solution here, the high availability solution, always on right here. And hopefully it's going to create a replica of Rep 7 on server 2, our replicas. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continually update data on server 1, on the primary server, and then create a backup job on server 2 that I can actually back it up. So this is wonderful. That's done. So right now I've got 1,000 records. So let's do the select statement. Just to verify it, we've got 1,000. Great. If I go to server 2 now, I should have that replicated data, which I do. Uh-oh, did I not select the, I thought I did. Maybe I did not. So let's look at it. Let's see if we can fix it here. I was pretty sure I selected the mode where it was synchronous commit and automatic and allow connections. But let me look at it here. Pretty positive I did that, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Trying to look for the properties of this. Readable only secondary. Maybe I did not do it. That's strange. I thought I did. So make sure you do that. And again, this is another way of accessing. I know you can access it, but it's been a long time since I set this up. So make sure your secondary read is readable. Go yes. And actually, let's look at the primary here also. Because if you want to do a failover, see, I didn't select those. And sometimes you select them, but it doesn't take. So make sure you do that. Now let's go back to second 2. And if I run it, there we go. So now we have 1,000 records from the primary server to the secondary replica, and so far so good. So what we can do now is start a backup job here. So I created a backup job. If I double click it, and we've gone through this of how to creating a job, so I'm not going to go with this. Just name it. I'm just naming it backup job. The steps are here. I've already created a step, which is the SQL command. I'm going to edit it, and there's the backup job. Now, the key thing to note here is, let me copy this. Well, actually, I've already got it here, so let me show you that on server 1. On secondary replica, run this command to create a job. So I created a job and created or wrote out this backup script. Look at the notes. Backup on secondary replicas only. Let me correct that. Occurs only if you set this option. Must be copy only. So you must say with copy only. And that's important. So if you want to do it here, let's go back to this. So let's go edit. And I'm going to give you this script anyway. So create a job, open a job, paste this, and go OK. And go OK. And now obviously we can schedule this, but I'm not going to schedule it. I'm going to manually run it for you. So where are we here? So now, and the other thing to note is that my backup job, actually, let me delete this. My backup job directory is local to server 2. It is not sharing drive. It is not on server 1. It is on server 2. And that's the whole benefit. I'm offloading all the work from server 1 to server 2, and I'm backing up locally here. And then from here, obviously, I would have multiple copies on a different office or a different server itself to have redundancies. And we've talked about that before. So I've created this job here, and let's see now. So right now we have 1,000 records. Great. So let's generate some activity here. So let's just create a couple of more inserts. Now activity is happening on server 1. Now let's do another one. So now we should have 3,000 records. And let's go to server 2. So if we do a select execute here, we should have 3,000 records, as we do. Now we're going to back up this data on the secondary server, and this is going to be obviously on a schedule. I'm just doing it manually, but this will have it on a schedule. So you can see now that we've got a backup, full backup of those things. Now if it were to crash here, we can actually restore it. So let's crash the database, and let's see if we can restore the database. Let's delete this. Well, it's got to be out of sync first. It's involved in, remember, well, actually, let me not do that. I don't want to get too complicated here. So you get the notion that it's important to offload the primary server by creating backup jobs on the secondary server here. So as activity continues here, if I do more inserts here or deletes or updates or whatever, it's being automatically synced to the secondary replicas. And do one more. Now we should have 5,000 records. And then we can take another database backup of that scheduled on a job. So if I look at this, we should have 5,000, which we do. And again, if I run this job, which is going to be running on a schedule, we can run this job, and that's great. And there it is. And that's right here. So that's how you actually execute and have the advantage of using Always On, that you can offload work from the primary server to your secondary replica, and this is a demonstration of doing that. Since this is a read-only database, if I have SSRS, which is going to be the next course, you're going to see how I utilize Always On Availability Group to use my reporting, which is an excellent feature in itself. So we'll be talking about that in the next course called SSRS. So this is a demonstration of how to utilize the second replica using backups. And I'm going to leave it there, and we'll continue to the next one. So my name is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. Bye.